when I was young, fit and keen, I was like, I want the business, I want to work for myself and, I want a really successful business. And then I think your mindset sort of shifts in regards to when family come along.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch other people about it.
James Clarke, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No, pleasure.
We went for a bit of a coffee, like a week ago or something, and we had a chat for about an hour and a half. And I was like, "What are we going to talk about?" We already covered every topic, but I'm sure there's a lot more in us.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate you coming on. I think I had you came recommended originally. I think it was Troy from QBS.
Yeah.
That he messaged me. He's like a funny guy, right? He's a good man. He's a great guy. So he just messaged me, making sure that I'm not up to no good or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think, and being like, hey, here are a few examples of builders that are doing a great job that you should be interviewing. That know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Your name came up as one of them, and so I reached out, went for a coffee, and then I watched from a distance some of the projects that you've been working on, and been very impressed.
Yeah, appreciate it.
With just what you've built up in terms of your business, and so super keen to have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, no worries.
Before we sort of dive into that, let's talk a little bit about sort of your upbringing. We like to touch on that a little bit just to get a bit of context. Where did you grow up? How did you grow up? What was your childhood kind of like?
Yeah, so you might pick up I've got a wee bit of an accent. So yeah, I was born originally in the UK, from a place called Southampton down on the south coast. And yeah, we sort of a family of 4. So yeah, two sisters and one brother. Decided to make the family move as for a better lifestyle and way forward for moving to New Zealand. So that was in 2003, November. I remember being at Heathrow Airport leaving the UK, and Johnny Wilkinson kicked the drop goal to win the Rugby World Cup. So that was my last memory of leaving there. So it was, New Zealand, with England, it's a great spot, you're just so close, accessibility to places around Europe and bits and pieces. It's just fantastic from that side of things that we went to do on at a later stage. But yeah, we decided better lifestyle, moved to New Zealand and set up home here, and it's been home ever since. So, I don't look back. It's just a fantastic place to be. And finished. I came over at 15. Yeah, I was about 15 years old. So when I got here, I was like, right, straight into secondary school or college. And finish everything up here, which was quite a tough but also good age to come over, because being young, being 15, you've just lost your group of mates that you've grown up with from 10, 15 years of being back in the UK to now starting a clean slate. So moving to uni and moving to college, then potentially going on to uni was kind of my goal. And then finished secondary school studies. Done university entrance, and that was kind of the path I was heading in. Right. And I was sort of, university for me, Otago, seemed the right thing, but also back in my mind was always, it's the same old cliches, but, good with my hands. I was always in the garden with Dad doing stuff and, building retaining walls and decks and landscaping and all the fun stuff, getting your hands dirty. So it was, a sense of pride, I suppose, in a hard day's work, working on the weekend. And that was really, really good. So for me, it was kind of flip of a coin, ready to go into university and do that sort of role. But yeah, building sort of just kept screaming back to me, and I kept crawling back to that. So, and I always thought, back then when I was, 20 odd years ago now, when we were at school, it was kind of just like, with trades, it had a different perception to trades do now. And I think one of the big things of that was, you weren't doing too well at school. You might drop out in, sixth form, fifth form potentially, get stuck into a trade real fresh and green at the age of 15 or 16. And it's like, uni, everyone sort of pumped that down your throat. And, it was, for me, I didn't really have that sort of, mentality, I suppose. For me, it was like, right, get a trade. If it doesn't work out, I've always got plan B. Plan B for me could be uni if I wanted to go down that road. But once I got into an apprenticeship, through the BCRDO scheme, it was no looking back. It's just, for me, it's loved every day, just a can-do, keen attitude. And you get, the sort of dog's body jobs, like the not so fun ones. Like you might be shifting mulch for 2 weeks, but
Nice.
When you get given that sort of opportunity to do some building work and cutting some nogs and getting stuck into it, you just grabbed it with both hands and did the best job that you could potentially do, whilst learning. So it was a big move, from finishing school, Whirlwind, college, finished up, made a good group of friends, and then straight into an apprenticeship. So it was, it's something that just never looked back. It's just, and the good thing about trades nowadays is, as we know, you earn to, you learn when you earn and you earn when you learn. So it's kind of, it's
so good like that, eh?
Yeah.
Like it's, you just, uni, I feel like so much money's getting thrown away first.
Yeah, 100%.
Hoping that you might get a job later.
Yeah. And as we all know, like you go into uni and whatever degree you study, you come out with tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And then you're starting, and then, so you might be mid-20s before you're sort of really sort of ramping into your degree that you studied. And hey, uni can be for anybody if that's their path they want to do. But I think just trades is such a great trade to get into. Like, with my my little kids, like I'll be telling them to go for it if that's what they choose to do. Like it's just, for me, doing a trade, earning money and sort of learning, and it's just, you can't go wrong for me personally. It's just great when you get stuck into it when you're young and fit. Now I'm a bit older, I'm a bit stiffer and, not jumping across the trusses like I used to. But it's certainly the way forward, I think, personally for me.
Yeah. What are the different sort of mentalities towards, you came from the UK. It's actually quite interesting. I moved here from South Africa when I was 15 in 2002.
Yeah.
Which is the
same age.
Year.
Yeah.
Same age, same year. I found it. I think perception is reality, and sort of you get disappointed when you expect something different. So when I came over, I assumed I'm coming over from South Africa. You got that rugby connection that people are going to be welcoming me with open arms. It was not the case whatsoever. They hated me because I was like from South Africa.
Well, it's a love-hate relationship with South Africans, right? Yeah.
So I can definitely attest to that. And then also having a different mentality when I was came from South Africa. Trades are looked at very differently there than over here.
Yeah.
In the UK, what is sort of I know the UK is a very sort of class system. What are the attitude towards people that do trades versus, say, New Zealand? Is it different? And did you change your mind when you sort of moved over here and around that?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you say, from once I got qualified, I went back to the UK to work, so I got a really good idea of how that sort of structure worked. And like you sort of say, like so-called class system, and good old East London geezer that's a brickie and, get stuck into it sort of thing versus, carpentry and builders that are over there. So it's a little bit different to the structure. I think we're really fortunate in New Zealand that with the apprenticeship schemes that we have, you're learning from preliminary stage, site setup to putting that last key in the door and sort of handing those over. So I think it's really beneficial in the 4 or 5 years that you do your studies that you actually learn absolutely everything about building. I know certain countries, for example, do first fix and second fix, and you sort of find the niche that you really enjoy. So, whether it's standing frames or whether it's into like the hanging doors and the detailed stuff. So it's interesting when we went back to work, that sort of mentality of where you fit in regards to how good a builder you are and what you do. But sort of rewinding just a little bit on that, when I was 15 and I was like, right, the family made the call to emigrate. To me also, I love outdoor sports, right? So, and even though I grew up in a really nice place and, with a forest nearby and was always out with the mates bike riding for the weekend, going to the beach or, taking packed lunch and, there's a skate park nearby and all that sort of stuff. Like, so it's kind of, it wasn't central London, for example,
Right.
like it was outdoors. But then to me, it was like, outdoor sports is a bit like you can surf and snowboard in the same day, you
Crazy.
know? And it's just like, that's just unheard of to me from somebody on the south coast of England. You get the cold weather, but you don't get the warm weather that often. So it's, for me, it was like 15, keen, you know, very, you know, that sort of jock mentality, I suppose, you know, of you know, give anything a go, give any sport a go. Yes, you had football, soccer, breathe down your throat that I played a lot of when I was younger. But yeah, for me, it was just like one of the craziest sports I wanted to get into was whitewater kayaking. I was like, I want to get stuck into that. You know,
That's cool.
Mum was like a canoe sort of teacher back in her younger days when she was at school. You know, sort of early before my time, you know, early sort of 20s. But for me, I was just like, whitewater kayaking, there's some pretty amazing rivers around this country and some pretty remote spots, you know, that you and I would just never get to normally see otherwise.
Yeah.
So got stuck into that, and that was kind of like, right, that was one of my sports I got stuck into, and snowboarded from a young age, and, you know, just that outdoors sort of lifestyle was like, yeah, I'm keen to go. I was 15, I was like, see you mates, like I'm moving to New Zealand, this is pretty epic, you know. But yeah, then sort of with the building side of things, so I didn't know too much about it, obviously, you know, when I emigrated over, but wife and I went back to the UK to work, and I was kind of like, I've kind of been there, done it, got the T-shirt sort of thing, you know, I've grown up there, I don't really want to go back, but, you know, my wife sort of said I went kicking and screaming, dragging me over there, and then it was kicking and screaming, dragging me home again, so it was good, you know, like it was interesting learning the building mentality over there, and it's completely different to here. Right. And it does make you appreciate a little bit over here the structures we have in place, i.e. like the council structures and inspections. You know, we love the inspectors that we have, you know, love them or hate them, they do a good job, you know, and you get some really, really good ones. In the UK, there's none of that at all. It's purely on the architect, you know, so the architect is literally on site every other day. Meetings have been held with the architect, and I sort of got into more of the project management role, and sort of got to know some of the architects really well, and sort of talked to them about that sort of structure and stuff. And they said, yeah, a lot of onus is on our shoulders to make sure this is right. It's not just pretty pictures on a paper and here's a consent and see you later. You know, maybe a few phone calls throughout the build, but it was a real eye opener just for access to sites with historical, you know, facades. You can't really do much on the up in London. You have to go down. It was just, you know, it was a completely different mentality of building. So, but I also worked for a Kiwi and Aussie firm. So it was kind of like home from home. Right. But a lot of, you know, sort of the guy that we worked for, he was a Kiwi that went over 30 odd years ago and never came home, you know. So he just has an awesome team behind him, but it just changes because Kiwis are over there for a few years, you know, so it felt like every other weekend we had a sort of leaving party or a welcoming party. We're always down the pub, you know, on a Friday afternoon. So it was good. It was real cool. You know, like, but we purely went over there with the mentality of traveling, you know, and just doing 18, 20 countries in 22, 23 months that we were there, you know. It was really cool. It was awesome to do it with my wife, you know, so you build those sort of memories together, whereas a lot of Kiwi guys are over there from Hokitika or Gore, you know, and they're like possum and headlights. They were just like, holy hell, we've gone from a small town in the South Island to 20, 30 million people in London, and, you know, the site was a bit of a funeral because they partied so hard on the weekends. It was like a funeral on a Monday, you know, but it was, but come mid to late week, it was back into the party going again. So it was cool. It was really cool.
That sounds awesome, mate. Let me ask you this first. Do you feel that when because you came here, you got qualified, you kind of almost sort of started your business,
yeah, and
then you went over to the UK, and then you came back after a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Do you find that you were a better builder all around, had a better sort of idea around what this game is when you kind of went away and came back again?
I think so. Like, I think sort of my project management and management in general came into fruition and sort of really improved in the UK. You know, I sort of got qualified, did my time with my boss, who was an awesome builder, zero tolerance, you know, sort of really drummed those sort of, attention to detail. Speed comes later, right? Attention to detail and get it right the first time. So I sort of really appreciate the way we sort of learn our apprenticeship, and out of respect, I feel personally for me, I was like, I want to stay with him for a few years afterwards. He's put the time and effort into me. I can pay that back to him in sort of being on his team and sticking it out. And then sort of, it kind of got to the point of like, all those sort of weekend warrior jobs came along, and it was sort of like, you speak to the family on a Sunday and they're like, oh, Brian down the road wants a deck built next week, and I was like, oh yeah, we can do that. We'll do that over a few weekends and get it done. And then that sort of grew and grew, and your reputation, from great communication and attention to detail just grew. So it just literally was like, went from a deck to, a bathroom renovation to a full house reno. And those the last two guys worked together in the office, and I think that was, really good for me to learn, but I was quite green still. So it's kind of, I was relatively fresh in regards to how to run a business, but I got to a point of like, I've got about 5 to 6 weeks worth of full-time work here. And my wife gave me the nudge and said, take the plunge. What's the worst that can happen? You can go back to your boss and say, look, I'll contract back to you,
Yeah.
And never look back. 5 weeks grew and grew. And yes, I learned and did the sort of, learned the hard ways. You learn from jobs that you price well and not so well, and what you should do better next time and stuff like that. And then, the opportunity to go back to the UK popped up, so there's kind of two avenues. We're at a crossroads. It's either stay in New Zealand and keep the business growing, or sort of head into the UK and do that, get that out of the system before, family and kids and all those sort of bits and pieces come along. And we were sort of mid-20s when we were sort of doing that. And it was just like, and we got married quite young. We got married in 12 years ago now. So, we were early 20s. So we moved to the UK, and just the company I worked for, I said, look, I really want to jump on the tools to start with to learn the ropes and learn how you do things in the UK. And I literally went to a recruitment agency and said, Monday I landed, Wednesday I was working, Tuesday I bought my tools. It was just within 72 hours I was on site. And it was comforting to go onto a site with Kiwis and Aussies, and met some, even now, best mates that, we work with over there and they're now back home. So it's, but I said with the intention of, I want to be running sites. So the company was about 60 people strong. There's about half a dozen sort of project managers. And I got put on some small stuff to start with, which was cool. So I really sort of learnt real good time management. People skills is a big one, being sort of relatable and easy to talk to, and just the basic good manners, polite, communicating well with the client, all that sort of stuff just complements where we are now, right? So it's because every job's a new job, you're kind of like a car salesman in that respect, it's kind of, a new job, you've got to present yourself, and you earn that trust, and trust is such a massive, sort of key component in our trade.
Yeah.
It's huge, and I know, from the past speaking to other builders and bits and pieces, it's, you're dealing with a lot of money, and it's a lot of stress for the client, $1 million, and they've got to trust you, it's a big box to tick. So, learning in the UK and sort of learning that, how to run my business, how I want to get home. And we had a lot of people sort of saying, when are you back? When are you coming home? We've got this we want to do and get this. So I kind of kept the business dormant. I didn't keep it running as per such, because I thought time management, 12 hours apart, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So I kept everything sort of dormant and asleep to kind of jump back into it when I got back. So, and that's exactly what we did. We did our 22 months of traveling and just came home and got stuck straight into it. I think we came home Christmas time, enjoyed sort of New Zealand summer, mid-January back into it. And then it just grew and grew and grew, and I think those couple of years in the UK sort of did help me learn that sort of project management side of things. But then obviously running a business is a completely different beast, So you got the project management on site, day-to-day stuff sorted. That was good, tick that off. But yeah, running the business and, getting everything set up. And I'm really fortunate that my wife is a chartered accountant and has got a really good level-headed shoulders on her, and and sort of the people I grew up and around, and father-in-law's got a really successful accounting practice in town, and just sort of having those good role models around us of getting good foundations to the business, and then grow slowly, and not want to be 25 guys down the track, and I wanted that yesterday, not be sort of that. We're a boutique-sized business, and we always will be, and I think that's our sort of niche that we've sort of sitting comfortably with.
Yeah. I want to ask you a bit more about that and dive a bit more into what you just mentioned, growing slowly, the numbers that are important and the ones that maybe aren't as so important.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on what you just said before on the trust, building the trust, when you're starting off.
Yeah.
How important that trust is, and how important, how you present yourself is to actually growing and getting the right type of clients come in. It's funny, on our most popular video on our Instagram is from Henry Dunham. It came on a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And generally on social media, the most popular videos are the ones that's sort of the most controversial, quote unquote. And all he said on the video was, you get two types of builders. One's got the odd socks and their hair sticking out, and then you got the guys that want to go and be great, And the amount of comments that are underneath there around, oh, mate, you don't need to, it's not about what you look like. It's not about how the van that what your van looks like. I know the best builders out there that have odd socks and hair sticking out, and they're the best builder ever. Yeah. And that's true. I get that side as well. But when you want to build trust, when you want to get like those great projects coming through, right? Do you have any thoughts on that, like how you present yourself and around that part of the conversation?
Yeah, I've kind of always had that that sort of, look at that guy, he's got 20 utes on the road, and he's got an office and there's 15 people in the office, and like, man, he must be doing really well. But I always get pulled back down to ground and saying, that bigger's not always better, and I think, like you say, you could be one of the best builders in the world, but running a business is a completely different beast. But from a professionalism side of things, I think all those things that you sort of just mentioned do tick the box. For example, if I was to, walk in to meet a new client and, presented well, clean shaven, decent shirt on, jeans, like this, rather than coming in with my ripped stubbies and paint all over my t-shirt. And I could still be the same person, but it's just, I think that it just adds to that ticking of the box of professionalism. I think it just looks cleaner, and it's just like, okay, well, he presents well and he's clean, is his site like that, or is it a chaotic mess that, there's timber over there with nails sticking out of it, but he's done a bloody good job. I think it's, I think those sort of things, there's a sweet spot, I think, if we're going over the top versus, being at the right spot. And I think we're kind of there. There's always room for for improvement. No building company is perfect. There's always something else that you want. I need to focus on that or change that or park that till next week, and that ends up to be next year, and stuff like that. But I think, yes. We've got vans. We've got 4 vans on the road. Yes, we've got my clean ute. It's a professional image and a professional brand. And I think if you want to be up, top of the tree with that, I think that does play a part. I think there is a place for that. But I think for me personally, I've always been a family-run boutique-sized business. So I don't need 20 people in a crazy office, and to me, again, my personal values is bigger's not always better.
Yeah.
And that's, I think if you can run a really well organised team, you can be as profitable as the guy that spread thinly, potentially got a bit of speed wobbles with 25 guys, and but there's a time and a place. It's, we're obviously not the size when we're 8 to 10 people to go and do a massive commercial outfit, or massive commercial fit out, or whatever it might be. It's sort of, you've got to really find the niche that works for you. And the residential market is for us. It's and building those sort of relationships. But on that trust sort of side of things that we talked about, you want to sort of scream to the top of the hills and saying, like, trust me, like, I'm a good person, like, I'm an honest bloke, but there's the same old horror stories that everyone runs off of, deposit was paid and didn't see the builder again. You know, he's now living somewhere in the Gold Coast or whatever. You know, it's there's people have those stories that of around the dinner table sort of talk that from friends of just kind of taint the industry, and we try so hard in our industry to gain 2 steps forward, and then we take that 1 step back. You know, and it's just like you're always sort of striving to and we're getting there. You know, I think we are. It's but it's not going to fix tomorrow. But it's I think it will just getting that trust from potential clients, potential architects. Once you've built that relationship, you've got forever friends there. Like we've got some clients that we've worked for that, you know, they've taken us out for dinner at the end of the job and still catch up for a beer now and again. You know, you've got that forever friendship, you know, on a personal level as well as a professional level. So it's invaluable when you sort of get that.
Yeah, for sure. As you're talking about architects, you know, when you build your way up to doing those sort of, you know, $1.5, $2 million plus type projects, there's always going to be an architect involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just going to be a mate drafty whipping it together, right?
Yeah.
So how do you sort of approach, you know, getting new business through the door? You know, are you actively out there building relationships with the architects? And if you are, how? Or do you think it's also important to try to attract the client directly to you?
Yeah, there's sort of 2 sides of the coin that you could look at there. Like building relationships with architects is invaluable. It's really important. You know, it's times have changed slightly with the market that we're currently in. You know, and we love architects and the work that they do. And I think it's more, you know, 5-6 years ago, it's kind of getting past the gatekeeper to get to the architect, you know, at the top of the tree. And it was, but now everyone's wanting to collaborate a lot more and work together and get through, you know, the sort of current market that we're in. So yes, building that sort of relationship with architects is what we strive to do and continue to do. Catching up for a coffee, you know, sort of just building that relationship, put a name to a face. You know, there might not be a project there now, but there might be a project 18 months down the track, you know. So there's that side of the coin. There's also the side of the coin of building that relationship with the client. And I think it's really important if you have that relationship with the client, say, hey, James, you know, we want to do this and, you know, lift the villa up and put a basement dig out and push out the back and, you know, and what are your thoughts and bits and pieces. So you have that sort of first consultation and first sort of catch up, but then we're quick to action, putting them in the direction of an architect or a draftsperson or whatever it might be to get that work. Like we all strive to do those beautiful, you know, glossy magazine sort of projects, and that's what I strive to do. You know, it's and it's sort of work that we all love doing. In the current market, it might be a bit tighter to sort of hunt that work.
Yeah.
But, you know, also, like I say, with collaborating and architects coming to us as well as us going to them, and designers and all those sort of things, it's, you know, it's sort of working through those times and then building those sort of relationships early are really important. And I think even forming that three-way triangle with an architect or a designer, a client and a builder, forming that triangle, so to speak, is early in the piece is invaluable. You know, even just from something so simple from a buildability perspective, you know, it's might look pretty on paper, but it'd be like, gosh, that's an absolute headache for us to do on site. You know, it's, you know, how about we try this or try this option, or, you know, or looking at a set of plans from a neutral perspective and say, look, that flows really well and I like how the kitchen's linked with the living room, but the media room might need to come off of here because it's backing onto 2 bedrooms or whatever it might be, you know. So it's, there's all those sort of, you know, sort of tick boxes that you can look at and give your 5 cents and your sort of personal opinion of experience and jobs you've done in the past and historical data and all that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah, having those relationships, you know, like I said, we love architects and we want to build more relationships with them because they're the fundamental of our industry, right?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's also building those relationships with clients you know, are really important. And again, trust, building that trust with the architect. You know, hey, this is James, you know, they might have a client that they don't have any builders lined up and say, James, you know, go to their architect and say, where do we start? You know, and be like, well, I've got James and another guy, you know, like these are guys that are fresh on mind, you know, met with him, seen his work, you know, talked to previous clients he's worked for, you know, and presents and communicates himself really well, you know. So I think it's those are sort of, the way forward.
Yeah. I think a lot of young guys or even builders, maybe a bit older, but being a bit more early on in their business, may sort of see your shiny, nice, clean ute driving around and looking at your projects you're working on Instagram and ask themselves, well, how did those guys get these kind of projects? You know, what is your secret? How have you built your way up over the years from the beginning to now to kind of be able to work on it? Is there any sort of things that stick out to you that really propelled you forward more than others, or was it just sort of slow and steady?
Yeah, I think it's slow and steady for me. You know, when I focus on some task or something in the business, I dive into 110%, you know, and we always, business owners, do astronomical hours, you know, and yes, you're emotionally invested in the business and you get out of it what you put into it, you know, but there's always something else you need to put into it, you know, and it's, for me, it's just, it's communicating and meeting people and going to those, like, you know, we're a part of ArchiPro and going to those like AP After 5 events and, you know, they're having a beer over a platter and, you know, you might get talking to somebody and it just, that relationship forms and, you know, and I think in the industry that we're in as well, I've got the perception of all the builders, like we're all team members, we're all brothers, we're all working together. We're not, you know, there's yes, there are the odd builder that puff up the chest and want to be top of the tree and be like, I don't care who I have to eat to get up there, you know, but, you know, it's collaborating, it's knowledge, it's, you know, building those relationships with, you know, with the likes of Troy, you know, and those sort of people, you know, it's having those sort of relationships and working together and what's worked for you in the past and what hasn't worked. And for me personally, it was grow steady, grow slow. And then once we sort of got to the point of 4 guys that were working for us, or 5 guys, you know, yes, I was still on site swinging a hammer and, you know, that's what I learned, that's what I love, you know, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, God, I've got a lot of hours to do tonight to catch up on paperwork, you know, like, and phone calls get missed, voice messages get left, text messages get answered at 4 o'clock when it should have been at 12, you know, and, you know, it just wasn't economical and efficient for me to be on site. I'm still on site every day. That's really important to me. The face of the business and the values we have is catching up with the guys, tray of coffees, you know, touching base, you know, what our goals are this week, what we're going to achieve by the end of the week. Are we sticking to schedule? Are we sticking to budget for our software that we use and stuff like that? And I think, you know, last week we went to the driving range for a head out and catch up, you know, went for a beer and a feed afterwards. And it's just building that team, you know, that personal, relatable team. Like we've got some guys at work that hang out outside work, you know, so they're mates on site as they were outside of work. So it's just sort of building that really sort of core team for me. But yeah, the secret sauce, I suppose, to get to where I am now is just, I think, dedication to the cause and just focusing on doing a really good job and just communicating well. Like that attention to detail and communication are two of our, you know, is building with passion and pride. You know, it's the same old cliches, but it is. And I think that's sort of really, really important from a growth perspective. And, you know, that word of mouth gets out real quick. New Zealand's a small place. You know, you're it's so hard to get a good name, but it's so easy to lose one, you know. And I think if you sort of just have that mentality for the younger guys that are kind of coming through and, you know, looking at getting stuck into it. Yes, it's tough times at the moment, but, you know, year down the track or so, you know, once we sort of start seeing light at the end of the tunnel and everything starts ramping back up again and they want to give it a go, I think, yeah, just build small, build steady. You know, just make sure you've got that workflow there and look after your guys because they look after you. You know, it's that's one of the really important things to me. And yeah, you know, we got the vans and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But for me, it's more of an efficiency side of things of how I wanted to run the business. Is I'm not the delivery guy of shooting the places and saying, hey, boys, I'm on my way to Placemakers. Do you need it? I still do it now, but it's having the vans on dedicated sites. Yep. And then, you know, the apprentice can jump in and grab 100 metres of 4x2 or whatever it might be. So it's for me, secret sauce was just attention to detail and communication and building those relationships with the client.
That's super important. And then also, like you mentioned as well, the team. You know, there's this book I read a while ago. I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote it, Good to Great. I don't know if you read that before.
Heard of it. Yeah.
And his big thing is about, he used the analogy of like, you know, you get people on a bus and then you drive, then you go to your destination. You know, that's like the vision. And he said that when he looked at all these big companies that were great, they didn't focus on their destination first, but actually getting the right people on the bus first.
Yeah.
And then once they got the right people on the bus, then they decided what their vision was and where they're going.
Yeah.
It's kind of like opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to have the right guys on site, because that's going to be, you know, that's going to lead to you doing a great job on site.
Yeah.
And, you know, I own a marketing business with Grows, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm fully, you know, for marketing and making sure you present yourself well out there and all that sort of stuff. But in the end of the day, the best marketing is you doing a fantastic job, because that's going to lead to that person using you again, or awesome referral that's going to be so easy to
100%.
sign up. Or so that is essentially the best type of marketing, really.
Yeah.
It's just doing a great job, and your guys are sort of part of that. So
Yeah.
that's super important. It's been really fun running this podcast, and like having guys like you on, and like it's been a lot more enjoyable and fun for me than I even thought it was. It was going to be.
And we love it listening to it too. You know, it's the people you've had on so far and will do. You know, it's just such a good foundations to start on, and I think it would just grow and grow and grow. So it's wicked.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback, which has been good.
Yeah.
The practical aspect of like doing this is like, it costs. We have to like pay to, you know, we got Chen here, the producer sitting on the chair there, doing a great job, and it's cost us money.
Yeah.
Every episode we produce, because we want to make sure it looks good, and a big part of for us is to make sure the builder's the hero, and we want to make sure the builder at least looks good. Otherwise, you know, to help us with that, we actually had someone reach out to us and offered to assist with the production costs, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
So the guys at Abodo, I don't know if you've worked with them before.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
They're amazing company, amazing New Zealand success story.
Yeah.
You know, they do a lot of export, but a lot of the timbers, you know, a lot of the builders they work with and architects and clients are New Zealand as well. So they've decided to come on board. So Abodo, they're going to be our, you know, we don't know what we're going to call it yet, but, you know, our partner or whatever, you know what I mean? We're not married, but they'll be our partners. And they're sort of sharing a bit of the cost with us. And and we're pretty excited about that to kind of put them out there as well. And I know that they've, you know, from the conversations we've had with those guys, it's been really important to them to give back to builders.
Yeah.
Builders aren't often the hero of the story. You know, you like see some grand design, $5 million build on the side of a cliff. It's all about, you know, the architect. It's all about the client, obviously. They're important. And it's all about everyone else. But generally the builders sort of don't even, you know, they might not even get tagged in the Instagram post, you know what I mean? So we're super pumped to have them on board. And Chen, you'll be able to get paid on time now as well, which will be nice. So no, that's pretty cool. So thanks, Abodo. We'll, we're really looking forward to this partnership. We need apprentices. Apparently there's a shortage. Apparently it's hard to find good guys out there. What's your point of view on the generation that's coming through, apprentices, attitude, competence, can do, attitude? How are you finding it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I've sort of more often than not gone sort of, you know, for apprentices that have had a bit of life experience. And when I mean that, it's sort of more like early 20s, mid 20s, you know, might have partner, rent, you know, family, whatever they might have, you know, and so they've got to come to work. They've got to be there and do that, you know. It's I think for the generation coming through, you know, a bit different to my time, but not so much because I still remember it like it was kind of yesterday. And, you know, it's I think for somebody that was like fresh at school at the moment was like, yeah, I want to get into a building apprenticeship at the end of the year. And, you know, I think it's really important to have a can-do yes attitude, you know, as long as it's not detrimental and causes bigger issues. But, you know, I think if they've got that can-do yes attitude and are keen and are honest and are efficient at being on site, you know, at 10 to 7, quarter to 7, whatever it might be, and the last person to leave, you know, there's nothing more worse than when you're the builder and they're like, right, you know, I'm off, 430s here, and you've still got half a dozen leads out and your drop saw's still out, and it's like, all right, I'll get it. It's just kind of like, I think, having that sort of real can-do attitude and just being polite, and again, just being a good person just goes a long way. I think we've all had those nightmare bosses that have treated you like absolute dogs, and you go home feeling pretty rubbish, and it's just like, oh, is this for me? Is this not for me? But I think the builders and the generation that kind of around my sort of age now have been there and done that, and they don't want to be that. So I think it's we sort of welcome apprentices as long as they've got a good attitude with open arms, and we'll train them well and do a good job. It's for me, that generation coming through is really important to sort of have that sort of attitude. I don't. You won't sort of last too long in the industry if you kind of want to be top of the tree straight away. It doesn't work like that, and it seems like something so simple, but you've got to earn your keep, and you've got to get to that point. So I think if you know that and you appreciate that and respect the cause and the process, you'll do okay, and you'll do really well. So it's but if you've got that sort of mentality of, why am I sweeping? I want to be doing what he's doing. It's just like, that won't work. That will get sort of real old real quick. So having that sort of keen, I'll jump on the broom, and jumping on the broom is actually a really good job in the middle of winter because it warms you up pretty quick. So
exactly.
It's sort of having that attitude, and then it's like, right, okay, come over here and cut me a dozen nogs, and measure those out, and go from there, and be like, sweet, and grab that job with two hands, and do, like I said, do a really good job, and do it as efficiently as you can. Speed comes with practice and repetition, right? So it's and then if the builder's like, he's cut those millimeter perfect, that's awesome. So he's parked that in the back of his mind that he knows that guy's cut that nog at 555 or whatever it needs to be, and I think that is really good then going forward. So if I'm like, okay, I trust him to do that. Okay, go cut me the studs and do the top plate, or here's the plan. Can you build this little wing wall in the bathroom? Or then you're like, sweet, and then just grab it. It's yes, but yes, when you're young, you kind of come into it and you're like, it's the big wide world of building, and you're like, you start off bottom of the tree. And I remember when I started and I was on $12 an hour or whatever it was, and I was like, oh, that's it's earning money. I'm sort of earning my keep. And there's one of the guys in the company, Patrick. He was on $42 an hour, and I was like, man, this guy, he looks like a millionaire. Like, I want to be like him. Like, he is, he's top dog. Like, got all the tools, and like, look, there's some tools in there that I don't even know the names of. Like, I was real fresh, but it was cool. Sort of, I think getting a really good boss to learn your apprenticeship is really important. And the variety of work, variety of work throughout your whole apprenticeship is really key. And when we sort of had our Christmas break up last year, like a lot of the guys were like, really enjoyed the variety of work we've done this year. And, some guys are your new build sort of guys and stand frame 1 to frame 2 on a nice clean site. Some guys love the old villas, and it's blending old with new. There's sort of, you got to find what sort of ticks everyone's boxes. But it's it's certainly having that variety of work for an apprentice is key, And if you don't, there's not an issue. Like I said, the whole band of brothers, so to speak, of people in the industry, I could easily farm out one of the apprentices that I have working for me to a mate and say, hey, you guys are doing roof framing at the moment. Do you mind grabbing, Chris for a week and do that, and a couple of weeks, so he can kind of learn the ropes and valleys and hips and all that sort of stuff versus. Because we haven't quite got that work coming up this year at the moment, or the stage that we're at. So I think just working together and stuff like that is really good. But apprentices coming through the system at the moment, like you say, there is a shortage, and we're in need of them. So again, ticking those boxes of thinking, I've got a pretty good attitude, and I'll turn up on site on time, and I'll be the last one to leave, and I'll dive into it hands deep and do my best. You can't really go wrong,
Yeah, it's all about attitude, It sounds like.
Yeah, 100%.
And the first year is hard.
First year is hard. You don't know what weigh's up sometimes when you're an apprentice, and it's really exciting. Like, you sort of gets your adrenaline going, but then you're also really nervous because you feel like the black sheep on site, and it's just like you also don't want to make a mistake, so you're kind of too nervous to make a mistake. You're starting to collect your tools because we do a tool allowance for our apprentices, so just drip feed it out of their pay over a course of time.
Cool.
And, so they don't see a massive dent of forking out $2,500 for a drop saw or whatever it might be. But you don't need that to begin with, as long as you've got a really good penny apron set up, and you've got maybe your skilly, your battery tools are pretty awesome nowadays. So you got your battery pack, your level, and an extension lead, because nobody likes lending out their extension lead. That's all you really need. I had an old white 1996 Nissan Sentra, station wagon that I sort of worked out of, and just had all my tools in the back, and thought I was sort of, the bee's knees to start with, and just growing your gear and stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, it's first year's hard. But on the flip side, yes, you get what what the owner and the boss and the employer can give you on site from skills, but you need to do the paperwork behind the scenes too. You need to make sure you focus on your bookwork, and the more you read in your theory side of things in your bookwork, the more knowledge you're going to have on site, because you might not even be doing roof framing yet, but you know what hips and valleys are and what the angles and pitches are, and sort of working out all those sort of gutters and heights and finishing levels and all those factors in your theory that you sort of start to learn. And it's like, oh, I read about that, but if you're chasing your tail, it's like, oh, I've got so much paperwork at home. I always dedicated a couple hours a week,
cool,
just to sit down and focus on paperwork. So, wife might be watching some junk on TV, and I'll be like, right, I'm going to disappear into the office and do some paperwork for a few hours. So it's good, and I still do that now.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good, because like an apprentice, being ahead, knowing what's coming up, you go, okay, this is the next part of the job. You already read up on it. You already know the theory. So now it's a bit more fun trying to do the practical,
and the builders,
rather than not knowing.
And exactly that. And the builders like it too. It's the builders that you work with on site. Even something so simple with that attitude that you touched on is like, can I take the plans home for the weekend? And just do a bit of reading, and just trying to figure out how to read plans, and all those sort of little bits and pieces. Like for me, if I was, if one of the apprentices said to me, can I take the plans home for the weekend? I'm like, here you go, mate. Like, go for it. Like,
nothing will put you in the good books.
Yeah, 100%. It's because then you're kind of knowing the site and elevations and what the house is actually going to look like, and then it's like, I've built that landmark. It actually looks 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. What's on site? It's pretty it's pretty rewarding in that respect. So
yeah, no, that's a good tip there for apprentices.
Yeah,
be a lot of apprentices now just asking if
the boss today before the end of the day, can I take the plans home for the weekend? Yeah,
well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So your company structure, how big is your team? What's sort of the qualified versus unqualified, office versus on site? What does that look like?
Yeah, so currently as it stands, we're a team of 8. For me, it's a kind of really good number. The biggest we've ever got to was about 14, and I sort of, when we were pumping and we had friends that were a bit quiet in the industry, and I said, look, we'll grab one of your apprentices and builders to jump on site and, give us a push while you're quiet. And, that size was good. But like I said, family-run business, I wear a lot of hats, as a lot of builders do out there, right? So, the business running hat, the invoicing, the quoting, the, timesheet, all that sort of stuff for the guys. So I kind of felt like at that size, for me personally, I kind of was getting that speed wobbles, spreading myself a little bit too thin. I might not get to your site today, sorry about that, but I'll get to there tomorrow. And I've always said I don't ever want to leave going to site a long time between drinks, because smaller issues can grow into bigger problems by the time you've got there. So if you need to troubleshoot it and nip it in the butt now, you can nip it in the butt being there regularly. So so for me, 8 guys. I'm really keen on apprentices, because I being one through the system myself, is really important to train the industry. So for me, 1-to-1 ratio is really good. So I've got 1 builder to 1 apprentice. Cool. In regards to our business structure. We might have it where we might be, to me, sort of on a decent run, 3 to 4 guys is kind of a good number. And whether that's 2 chippies, 1 apprentice, or 2 chippies, 2 apprentices, whatever it might be, it's quite nice for apprentices to have another apprentice on site, because they're in the same boat. They're kind of, talking the same language in that respect. So
Sit together during smoking.
yeah, and do what they need to do. But it's, so for me, 8 guys is kind of my magic number. Whether in the industry that we are in at the moment, some companies out there might be like 8, 6, trim the fat a little bit, keep it quite lean. But for me, 8's good with the work we've got on. In the office, you're looking at them. I am the office man, so it's I sort of structure my days, so to speak, of getting out. I'm on site by 7. Doing my site visits, catch up with the guys, even if it's for half an hour, and taking coffees, like I said earlier, and asking how the weekend was. Did you see the Warriors last night lose by 3 points? It's that sort of stuff. And then it's like, I often have meetings in the middle of the day, and then towards the afternoon, evening, I jump in the office and catch up on those emails. So that's kind of how I structure my day. And then I've always got a rule at home that I shut the computer down between like 5 and 7 p.m. And for me, that's family time. That's, dinner, bath, bed, get them in bed. If I need to do a few more hours before, hitting the hay, then so be it. But that's kind of how I sort of structure my days. It's, so I'm the office man. Wife's involved a little bit, she's got her hands full. She's got a busier job than me looking after 3 kids at home. So it's that's a full-time 24/7 job. So, but she's my voice of reason, sort of, as a lot of our wives are. Like, we sort of bounce ideas off and, talk about your day and how things are going. And, so she's involved in payroll, so being chartered accountant, loves the numbers. I can just send her the hours and she can get that sorted. So she is involved in the business, but, she's also got her career and her career path that she wants to get back up and running to. And, 3 kids and done, no more.
Yeah.
It's busy household.
Shut up shop.
Yeah.
Do you guys use like a payroll software or?
Yeah, so a lot of our sort of stuff through Xero, from a payroll perspective. From a, I suppose, build management software that we use, I've tried so many over the years, and as a lot of builders out there will know, like, a lot of software programs are great for 80-90% of it, not 100%. It might be great at scheduling and Gantt charts and budget to dates, but it's crap at timesheets, or, and I've, over the 2 or 3 years recently, just spent ages investing so much time into, and because you have to put a lot of time into templates and, building the systems in place in them. And once they're in place, it makes it a bit easier. But for me personally, I use Builder Trend. It kind of ticks all the boxes really well. Like I say, no software's perfect. But it just makes payroll real easy. What sites they're on, I can just click off a few filter buttons and, right, he did 88.5 hours this week, and, over it goes. So the Gantt chart's really good. The scheduling's really good. But yeah,
like client management in there as well.
Client management, yeah. So that's a really cool little, like, even again, touching on that sort of car salesman perspective of, if you say to a client, like, and we use a build management software that you have your own login, your own portal for your personal address, that you can jump in and say, right, you can see how the boys are, how the budget's going, how the schedule's going. You can see what they did today because they do daily logs, and the guys might take a photo of that wall and say, right, hey, we framed this up today. And so you might be away on holiday or away in Tauranga for the weekend or whatever, but you can still log in remotely and see how things are tracking on a daily basis. So again, it comes with that transparency and communication. That's, that transparency is what we work on. We sort of leave no stone unturned in that respect. So it's, and the clients love it. They jump on and sort of see, how progress is tracking and how the budget's going, how the schedule's going versus the budget. And again, it's just having all those things at the click of a button and at your fingertips is really invaluable, I feel. It just improves everything. Again, just that point of difference. I've heard of all sorts of different other softwares out there that sound good, but for me, just what works personally is the way we're sort of tracking with Builder Trend. So
cool.
Yeah, keep it on.
So having your wife as a chartered accountant comes with its benefits.
It does indeed. Yeah.
So over the years, she's kind of helped you out. You mentioned your father-in-law also owns a chartered accountancy.
Yep.
Having those sort of conversations with people that, you're having business conversations, financial conversations. You're not having building conversations.
No.
So over the years, you've obviously, I assume, figured out which numbers are important, which numbers are not important. Like, what are some of the numbers that you keep an eye on that's important as well? Is it about revenue? Is it about net profit? Is it about cash on hand? Like, what are the numbers that are super important to you guys, or to your wife?
I think, even from a pricing perspective, with the way we sort of price stuff, we often say to our clients, we're often plus or minus 5-10% depending on the build cost and scope of work and bits and pieces. And we normally tend to go over because the client says, whilst you're here, can you do this? So to me, having that historical data on numbers is really important, because based on, if we're doing a reno in Ponsonby and, we've got another one in 2-3 years later down the track, we've kind of been there, done that, and we know what those sort of figures were and what tasks took longer than planned, and what tasks we were quite efficient on and sort of, came in under on the hours dedicated to that. So to me, it's always about being a family-run business, of making sure we're comfortable at home for the family. And we're a small boutique-run business that, we want to make a profit, as everyone does, and the clients respect that and appreciate that, and they want to feel like they get a good deal as well. And I think the way we've sort of structured things nowadays to, for margins on materials that are fair, margins on sub-trades that are fair, and rates that we pay our guys, we're never going to be the cheapest. We never will be. But I think it's that professionalism, that point of difference that sort of pokes your head out above the rest. Is important to me. So yeah, from a budgeting and finance perspective, making sure we're comfortable lifestyle at home, that's all we all strive for, right? Is not that sort of paycheck to paycheck structure. We've all been there and done that, It's and having the chartered accountant on board, she's I call her the tax police, like to this day I can honestly put my hand up and say I've never done a cashy, because
she won't let you.
Yeah, she won't let me. Yeah. So it's it's having her knowledge as well is quite important of, with even the way we've structured our business of like, invoices and the way the business gets paid and revenue comes in, and we've got rainy day accounts and materials accounts and tax accounts, and I think that's, even for a young guy starting out fresh, it's like, wow, we just got paid $65,000 for that, let's go buy a new ute, and all of a sudden you got a prof tax bill that's coming in, it's like, where the hell's that money going to come from? So I think just having those sort of separate accounts set up for us works really well, like even education account for the kids, if we need to look down that route, and rainy day account's a big one, or tax and materials. So I always say to her, whenever I swear she's got an overseas account, like money comes in and it just disappears, and it's
just goes into
like a Cayman Islands, like an overseas tax haven account, but it literally goes 20% here, 30% here, and so we're never sort of caught out when, GST or tax or prov tax or whatever it might be that come in, we've got the money set aside for it, so that's one less stress,
Let's talk a little bit about your mentality. You look to me like you're a family man, you run your business, you're very clean out there. And sort of what's your mentality? How do you approach life? Obviously it's leading to some success. Maybe we can take something from it. Is there a specific way that you sort of approach life and how you see the world?
Running your own business is a completely different beast, right? And it's a stressful beast. Love it or hate it, it is a stressful beast, and as I sort of mentioned earlier, you kind of emotionally invested in it, and I think for me, it's important to take some personal time out. It doesn't have, because you walk in through the door and you got the wife that hands you the kids and say, I need a mental break too, it's, these guys have been screaming at me for the last 8 hours, but it's sort of just taking some time out, even if it's for half an hour. Like, I'm a big, I'm keen on, fitness and health and outdoor sports and exercise and all that sort of stuff. So for me, even if it's just going for a quick 6-7K run, half an hour, just clearing your head, thinking about a few things, going for a walk taking the dog for a walk on the beach. Mentality is a big one, right? I think if you've got a clear headspace, as clear as it can be, even though we've all got our brains are going crazy with what's going on and 100 mile an hour, but I think if you can take that time to just drop it down a gear and just breathe and relax, I think that helps, and I think just, the chit chat that goes on in your mind of the way you sort of think about things and even when you sat at the desk at work and you're trying to write, what's critical path and what should we target first, and it's sort of working through all those sort of factors of time to yourself, work balance is really important. I think to me, family time's the most important thing to me. Like you say, family-run business, business is doing really well. But, it's also having that time with your family at home. We're so accessible nowadays, and as we know, gone are the days of shutting the office door on a Friday and, switching off, so to speak, until Monday morning. It's a good and bad thing. But I try as much as I can to switch off when I can when I'm at home with the kids. But then, like I said, time to yourself is really important. To go for a run, go for a walk. My time when I absolutely switch off 100% is when I've actually got a snowboard strapped to my feet. So that to me is like when you're in backcountry and I don't think about anything else. It's but family time is pretty important. So, and just being a positive person, I think, just kind of solutions, not problems. And I say that to a lot of our subbies. If we come across an issue on site, I'm right. Okay, I'm all about solutions, not problems. So let's solve this. Let's get, and having that positive mindset on site, I think is contagious. It's
For sure, yeah.
And being a positive person, being fresh. Monday morning, it's morning, guys. Like coffees are here. Or beer on a Friday, and just easy to talk to. And I think having that sort of positive mentality. We've all had stuff go on in our lives that, sideswipe you out of left field, on a Wednesday afternoon, and it's just like, holy hell, where did that come from, and you learn ways to deal with it as best as you can, but you sort of, one foot in front of the other, day by day you get there, and, through the bad stuff, but through the good stuff, just reflection and time to yourself. Like I said, even taking, living on the shore, like there's a beach every other 5 Ks, so it's, just 5-minute walk to the beach, take the dog for a walk in the evening, take the kids down for a play after school. Like, I think the lifestyle helps with that, with living in Auckland. I think, and even around New Zealand in general, we're pretty fortunate that we live in such a beautiful country that, Kiwis do take that time out, and go to the beach or go up the mountain or whatever they do. It's really important just to drop it down a gear and, have that sort of me time, but also family time, Yeah.
It
refills your cup, doesn't it,
100%. And what does success mean to you?
I think my view on success has changed over the years. I think it always does. Like, to me, when I was young, fit and keen, I was like, I want the business, I want to work for myself and, I want a really successful business that kind of, the wheels tick in motion and we're doing really well for ourselves. And then I think your mindset sort of shifts in regards to when family come along. I think, and a lot of people out there that like once kids come along, your success to you is a healthy, happy family, right? And a happy home and just a good work-life balance. I think is a big one for me. So, it's not about the big dollars, even though the dollars help. It always does. But to me, the more important things are the main family values. And everyone doing well and successful and happy and well and health, is a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it drills it back to basics. Like I said, business for me was a big one, and it's doing well. Tick that box, and it continues to do so, and we hope it continues to do so in years to come. But now it's sort of getting a bit older. It's those success values are being roof over our head, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How do you deal with, we all get sideswiped and things happen in life and, a lot of builders are, they struggle with things that happen in life, sometimes life happens, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How have you been able to, are there some practical aspects that you've, that you've sort of delved into that has helped you deal with when, life kind of gives you a little smack?
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I said earlier, I'm all about solutions and not problems, right? And a lot of us blokes are like, how do we fix it? But some things you can't fix. Out of your control. I think having a really good team in regards to my wife and I, we communicate really well, and I think that breaking things back, peeling back the layers of the onion, and sort of just I've really got a mindset of it's not raining until it's raining, and to me that's really important to peel back the layers and trim the fat and sort of just we've got X problem. How do we adapt our family or our life or work or whatever it might be to deal with it as best as we can? Every situation's different, and it's I think just one foot in front of the other, day by day, just breaking it down, and just end of the week will be here or end of the month, and I think that's really important, from a business perspective as well as a personal perspective of, again, just starting afresh and just say, right, this is the problem we've got. How do we deal with it together as a family or as a team on site? And just go from there, because mental health's a big one, right? I'm a big believer of communicating and chatting. Not the whole, years have gone by of she'll be all right, mate, or sweet as bro, or, it's, I think that sort of awareness now is kind of shifted. And guys do talk about it a lot more, which is good, which is awesome. So I think for me, having that, sort of rock of a, saying all the right things about my wife, right? But having the glue at home that keeps the family together, and, and I'm the more whirlwind to keep the business running, of being able to vent, and we do, whether it's just catching up in the spa on a Friday night and just talking for hours about stuff and dissecting the week, and but yeah, when those big things happen, it's just kind of like, right, we're in this together, we're a team, let's sort of battle it and hit it together. So, and again, trying to keep that positive mindset, I think is really important. So, it's contagious,
Yeah, no, that's very good, especially when you're, if you're married or just having that. I think it's like Jordan Peterson or someone that said that you need about 90 minutes at least a week of you and your wife just sort of catching up on the management of the household.
And it's so hard to do that, right? Like with the
super hard with kids,
with the kids, and you kind of feel like sometimes you're passing ships in the night, and it's just, and the communication might not be there, and then you might be a bit short with each other because you haven't just sat down and chatted about X, subject, or how the structure of the week's going to be, or you didn't tell me you had that meeting, but I've got something booked this afternoon, so it's just kind of like just having that communication aspect is really important. We do aim to have that sort of catch up, just to sort of reconnect, is a big one.
Yeah.
So it's good, like partner, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. I think if you've got those sort of values of just communicating well and just sitting down, slowing down, chatting, even if it's over a glass of wine and you throw the cork away on a Friday night and just say, let's chat, it's, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah. No, that's very cool, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah, it's wicked.
I'm going to go and run through some rapid fire questions with you. Feel free to pass on any of the questions if you want to pass as well. And then, then we'll get you out of here so you can go to your,
fun, man.
To your real
enjoyed
job.
It.
Yeah, thanks, man. And likewise. Cool. So just rapid fire. Some of it we might have covered already. How big is your team?
So, team of 8. Yeah, awesome. Team of 8 plus me and the wife in the office. So
cool. What's your crew mix?
Yeah, so we're 1-to-1 ratio. 4 builders, 4 apprentices.
Cool. How many projects did you guys complete last year?
Last year, we completed 3 projects last year. Yeah.
Cool. What is your turnover? Under 1 mil, 1 to 3 mil, 3 to 5 mil, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 plus?
3 to 5.
Cool. What's the lowest gross profit margin building companies should be aiming for?
Yeah, interesting one. We could talk about that for 20 minutes, but 18%, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Cool. Free quote or paid quote?
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. At the moment, I'd love to see the tides turn, but we're we're free quotes, but I think, the industry deserves to start changing things to paid quotes for sure.
Cool. Project management software or spreadsheets?
Bit of both, but more project management. Yeah.
EV or petrol head?
Oh, petrol, mate. Yeah.
Classic rock or hip hop?
I'm going to swing towards hip hop, eh?
Yeah, just to get the groove going.
Get the beats going.
Yeah, especially when you're going for a run, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm still trying to work out. You when you said earlier, you were like, you go for a 7 kilometer run, that's half an hour, and I'm just like, what's the minutes per K on that one? I'm like
420s. Yeah,
I'm like, that's pretty good, mate.
Yeah,
I was pretty impressed with that one. Are you extrovert or an introvert?
Extrovert. Yeah, probably.
Cool. Are you too mean or too nice to your staff?
Way too nice.
Surfing or fishing?
Fishing, 100%.
Cool. Favorite business or non-business book, if you have one?
Interesting. It's I'm actually not too much into books at the moment. It's more podcasts and audiobooks and stuff. So picking up some good. So there's a guy out there at the moment, Profitable Tradie.
Yep.
So just pick up some relatively good stuff from him. So
cool.
Yeah, interesting one.
Awesome. Shout out to Profitable Tradie out there. Who's your business or life hero at the moment?
Life hero. Probably heroes. Obviously, tick the boxes of my wife's my hero at home. So I'll probably stick with my wife. It's a good answer, I know. But yeah.
No, it's a great answer. What's your favorite hobby?
Spending time with the family. Snowboarding. Yeah, 100%.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
What's the one thing no one knows about you, or not a lot of people know about you, I guess?
That's a dangerous question. We have to pass on that one.
Everyone passes on that one.
Yeah.
Are you alpha or beta male?
Probably lean towards alpha.
Yeah, nice. Wine or whiskey?
Wine, 100%.
Yeah, throw the cork away.
Yeah.
Makita, DeWalt, or Milwaukee, or Ryobi?
Hilti. Makita out of those ones. Yeah.
Glass half empty or glass half full?
Yeah, I'm most of the glass half full.
Yeah, I think I already knew that one. Do you think more about the past or about the future?
Can't really control the past now that it's been, so I'm a future person. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Is there anything that you've changed your mind on lately? Like a belief that you used to have that you've changed your mind on?
Oh, that's a good question. I could be here for ages about this one, but yeah, I think it's more just having those, like I said, those beliefs of just looking after your guys on site, and just spending time with the family. Like, it's so invaluable, right? You blink and they're old and teenagers and don't want you to hug them anymore. So yeah, for me, big belief is family time. Stick to it. Yeah.
I think it's good to end on that. No.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you have fun?
Yeah, man, wicked, love it, and it's
awesome.
It's been a good fun to finally get on the pod and chat with you. It's been great.
Cool, awesome, James.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Catch ya.